Hi, today we're looking at Tetromino. This is a spatial awareness puzzle. The objective is to overlay Tetromino shapes onto the grid following certain rules. Tetromino shapes are the shapes that you may be familiar with from Tetris. So before we go any further, let's just have a quick reminder of what Tetromino shapes are. There are 5 different shapes. In all, each one uses 4 squares. So we have the square shape, which we sometimes call the O. We have the bar shape, which we sometimes call the I, the L shape like this. There's the S shape like this, and the T shape like this. So these are the Tetris symbols, the Tetris shapes, and these are the shapes that we want to overlay onto our puzzle. Now, when I say that we want to overlay them onto the puzzle, what I mean is we want to place shapes onto this grid in such a way that each shape contains 2 symbols, 2 different symbols. So, for example, maybe we want to place an L shape onto these 4 squares here, incorporating this circle and this diamond. Subsequently, every L shape that we place onto the board would also have to contain a circle and a diamond. The circle and the diamond wouldn't necessarily have to appear in the same place in the shape. So maybe we could have an L shape here like this with this circle and diamond. And as you'll notice, the L shape can be rotated as well. So this could be a valid shape here and containing the same pair of symbols, although they are in different positions and the shape has been rotated. That's a valid move. So each Tetromino shape must contain the same pair of symbols, but that's not to say that each symbol must be in the same Tetromino shape. It may well be possible that we have a circle and, a triangle in another shape. Maybe there's a square here because it's a different pairing. The only other rule that we need to remember is that once we've completed the grid, every square must be accounted for and part of a Tetromino. We cannot leave any cell unaccounted for. So those are the rules. Don't worry if it's not entirely clear, because it hopefully will become clear as we continue to solve the puzzle. So how do we solve a puzzle like this? Well, the first thing that we can use to our advantage is the rule that each pairing or each Tetromino must contain a pair of 2 different shapes. We can't have 2 shapes the same in the same Tetromino. So for example, up here in this corner, we've got 2 triangles. They could not form part of the same Tetromino. We have to have 2 different symbols in that Tetromino. So we can put a ball in here between them because we know that they have to be separated. I'm going to draw that one in there. We have a few more of those. We've got a couple of diamonds up here, a couple of circles, and a couple more diamonds down here. All of these need to be separated. They cannot form part of the same Tetromino. So there, and there. And I think that's all of our doubles taken care of. So although we haven't defined any Tetromino shapes yet, we have started to put in some borders, which hopefully will help us to solve the puzzle as we go along. So where next? There's a couple of places we can look. This corner is of particular interest because this diamond up here can only be paired with this square. There is nothing else within reach. There is no other way of putting in a Tetromino shape that would encompass this diamond without taking the square in as well. So we know that diamond and square is a pairing. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make a small note up here with a diamond and a square. And I'm going to note the Tetromino shapes. What have we got? We've got the square, the I, the L, S, and the T. And I'm going to see which of those we could potentially use. Well, we can't use a square, can we? That's not possible. So we can cross out the square as an option. Same goes for the I shape. We cannot put an I shape on here because that's going to take in this circle. And we can only have 2 symbols in a Tetromino. So I'm going to cross out the I as an option as well. An L shape, yeah, that's an option. An S, yeah, could see that going in there. And a T, that's a possibility as well, isn't it? So these 3, I'm not going to do anything with at the moment. They are options for shapes that could go up there. We've only got 2 squares, so there's a strong possibility that this square will also be paired with a diamond. We've got 2 within reach that it could be paired with. And again, our L and our S and our T shapes could all fit there. So at the moment, we don't know enough to be able to overlay a symbol on there. So I'm going to turn away from that corner, come back to that. And now I'm going to turn my attention to the triangles in this corner, because we've got the same limitation here in that this triangle can only be paired with a circle. Could be that one, could be that one, could be that one. They're all within reach. There's various different ways they could be paired, but we've got a lot of triangles and a lot of circles, and we know that we have at least one pairing. Given the number of them on the board, pretty certain there's going to be more than one. So I'm going to make another note up here just to help me. Triangle and a circle, and then just going to note the potential shapes. And we can't make that a square, can we? So I'm going to cross out square as an option. We could make that an I, we could make that an L, we could make that an S, and we could make that a T. So we've eliminated one option. Has that helped? Well, it's going to help, because now let's have a look in this corner, and I'm concentrating on the corners, as is so often the case with these kind of spatial awareness puzzles, simply because we have the constraint of the edges of the corner. It limits our options. And if we look at this circle, we have very limited options on what it could be. We could pair it with this triangle, and we know that triangle circle is already a valid pairing. We worked that out. The only other possibility is to pair it with the square. That's the only other symbol that's within reach. We could do that with an S shape like this. However, if we just troll that in there, that leaves a problem, and that problem is, what do we then do with this triangle here? We could not fit it into any other tetromino. There's no valid way of getting it in there, because if we come along here and up here, where do we go next? Anywhere else we go is going to end up hitting another symbol. So what that's telling us is that we cannot pair this circle with this square. It's got to be paired with a triangle. And immediately that reduces our options, because we can't have an I shape. So we can cross out the I as a possibility. We can't have an L shape. And we can cross that out as a possibility. It looks like we could have an S shape, except that that's going to leave us another problem. And that is, if we put an S shape on here, what do we do with this circle? The only other symbol that is within reach is this square up here. And we know that this square is paired with this diamond. So we can't use an S shape either. It's not valid. So we can cross that out. Hey presto, it's telling us we've only got the T shape left. That's all we can place on here. So what I'm going to do is I come back to this one, and I'm going to put a T shape on here, taking in another circle. The only one we can take in is that one. I'm going to colour that in green to make it easy to see. And now we know we can put one in down here as well, a T shape down here. By the look of it, that's going to have to go like that, isn't it? Because that's the only way we can do it. That's not going to prevent us from doing something with this one, something with this one, and something with this one. So let's draw that in now. And if we look at this triangle up here, then the fact that we've now got this T up here means that we're going to have to pair it with this circle down here, which means that's another T shape. Has to be, because that's our pairing. Triangle and circle is a T-shaped tetromino, and we can draw that one in too. And there's one more, isn't there? That's this circle and triangle, and again, that's going to have to be a T-shape here, like so. Okay, now we've made some progress, haven't we? That's filled in a large part of the board, and if we come back up here now, we can't have an L shape up here anymore because we've used up this cell. So we can eliminate L from our list of potentials. So what does that leave us with? Well, we can cross out the T, can't we? Because we've already used the T for the triangle circle shape. So now we know that for this pairing, it's just the S shape that's left. So if we're coming down here, then we have to come across and down here like this to give us our S shape. So we can fill that one in. Let's make that blue, and that'll make that easier to see. And we've got our other square down here, which is going to have to go with one of these diamonds. And given that this diamond down here is stuck out on its own, I think we're going to have to make that part of an S shape like that, aren't we? So we can draw that in. That will be another blue one. And we don't have any more squares, so we know we don't have any more S shapes. And now the puzzle is starting to solve itself, isn't it? Look, we've got this triangle and diamond down here, and we've got a couple of orphan cells here, so we're going to have to make that a nice easy square. That's the only way to take care of all of those cells. Let's make that one yellow. And now we've just got a couple of circled diamond pairs. We already used a square shape, we've used a T, we've used an S. All we've got left is the I and the L. Well, there's no way we can make any of these an I because I don't have 4 cells in a row, so it must be an L shape, and it's pretty easy to see that there's an L there and an L there, and that's the only way to fill it in. We haven't got any I shapes on this board, but that's because this is a level 1 puzzle and the board just simply isn't big enough to incorporate any. So let's just draw our L shapes in and we'll shade those in just for completeness to see what the puzzle looks like completed. One there and one there. And that's it, we've done the puzzle. Every cell is coloured in, every set is part of a Tetromino shape, and each Tetromino, even though rotated in different orientations, contains the same pairing, so the puzzle is complete. And we're just going to check the solution, make sure it matches, and it does. We've got our T's, our L's, and so on. So that's Tetromino. It could look a little bit daunting when you first look at the group, just because trying to place those Tetrominos in your head and all the multitude of possibilities between this multitude of pairings, 6 different possible pairings and 5 Tetrominos. It's quite a lot to think about, especially as you can rotate them and mix up the positioning of the symbols within them. But if you work through logically, once you've got that first Tetromino on the board, and in this case it was these T's, wasn't it? Then the rest of it falls much more easily into place. If you want to have a go at this yourself, there's a link in the description to download a taster puzzle or two, and we put these into the Puzzle Weekly magazine for free from time to time as well.
Hi, I'm Pete. Don't forget you can get our Puzzle Weekly magazine delivered to you every Monday, completely free. Visit the link to get your copy.